In this video, we are going to look at the major iron and steel plants in India. In terms of structure, this video will be split up in different parts. I'm going to make the timestamps available in the description. In case you want to jump directly to the specific topic, you can do so. In the first part, we'll get to know a little bit of history as to how did iron came into our life. In the second part, we'll learn when did iron appear in the Indian subcontinent. After that, we'll learn about the usage of iron and steel in ancient, medieval and modern India. Then we'll learn what are the raw materials that are required to make iron and steel, followed by the process of making steel. Then on a map, we will locate all the major iron and steel plants in India. And finally, we'll end the video by looking at some facts and statistics about the steel industries in India. Alright then, without any further ado, let's get right into it. First, I'll begin with a little bit of history. If you look at the concept of dividing historical ages in terms of Stone Age, Bronze Age and Iron Age, the Stone Age began some 2.5 million years ago in Africa. That's where humans evolved. Then the Bronze Age began around 2300 BCE. And finally, the Iron Age began somewhere in between 1500 to 1200 BCE. Now I'll give you a rough description of these individual ages. In the Stone Age, early man invented and created weapons made up of stone and bones for their survival. It is said that the Stone Age came to an end sometimes after the end of the last Ice Age, about 10,000 years ago. With time, men learned how to mine copper and then to make bronze weapons. That's when the Bronze Age began. Bronze is a combination of 10% tin and 90% copper. That means miners and craftsmen were needed to mine tin and copper. Bronze weapons are much stronger than stone weapons. The discovery of bronze changed many things. After the Bronze Age, the Iron Age arrived. This was the time when people made tools of iron. Iron tools were stronger than bronze tools. Weapons were more powerful. In the Indian subcontinent, the Iron Age began roughly around 1500 to 1200 BCE. Now, whenever we think of history concerning the Indian subcontinent, the Indus Valley Civilization comes to our mind, right? So remember this point. Indus Valley Civilization was a Bronze Age civilization. Iron was actually not known to the Indus Valley Civilization people. Iron was not used in the Harappan cities. Instead of iron, they were aware of the use of bronze and copper. After the Indus Valley Civilization, the Vedic period began in India. This was the time when the sacred Vedic Sanskrit texts in India were compiled. This was also the time of the early Iron Age in northwestern India. It is actually difficult to put an exact date on the origin of the Iron Age in the Indian subcontinent, but it was somewhere between the end of Indus Valley Civilization and the pre-Vedic period. In North India, the earliest iron object that appeared in India can be traced to Ahara culture around 1400 BCE, which was based on the banks of the Ahar river of southeastern Rajasthan state in India. People in this region were exploiting the copper ores of the Aravalli range to make axes and other artifacts. Some of the other well-known excavated sites that witnessed the traces of early iron artifacts were in Haryana, Rajasthan and western UP along Yamuna and Ganga river. These objects include nails, hooks, bars, spikes, knives, daggers, arrowheads, balls, spoons, saucepans, axes, chisels, tongs, door fittings, etc. The Iron Age in South India can be traced back to the megalithic culture of South India, which was found in peninsular India, concentrated in the states of Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and it dates back to around 1200 to 300 BCE. In ancient days, iron was far more expensive than gold, and therefore it was mainly used in making beaded ornaments. Ancient Indians used hematite iron, which is an oxide of iron, to make ornaments and jewelry. Iron was used to prepare arrowheads and swords for the warfare. Many foreign kings have recorded incidents where they were gifted by their Indian counterparts with swords and ingots that were made of Indian iron and steel. Iron and steel was a backbone to the modernization of civilizations. Iron Pillar of Delhi, which weighs around 6 tons dating back to 400 AD, is still found in the national capital Delhi, marking the age-old traditions practicing the use of iron in various ways. Several other monuments are the iron beams at the Konark Sun Temple in Odisha, dating back to 13th century. Ancient records show that during the Gupta period, which is also referred to as the Golden Age of India, during that time, Indian iron and steel was exported to far countries like Greece and Rome. During the 14th century, European scholars studied Indian casting and metallurgy technology. Indian metallurgy under the Mughal Emperor Akbar produced excellent small firearms which were considered stronger and more accurate than their European counterparts. Even during the colonial era, The British were very much aware of indigenous mining and metallurgy power of the Indian subcontinent. That is also one of the reasons why the British introduced the Arms Act in 1878. As per the law, no Indians could manufacture, sell, possess and carry firearms. And this law came right after the revolt of 1857 to limit India's ability to mine and make metals for use in future war against the British. By the early 19th century, most of the mines in Rajasthan were abandoned and the mining caste was extinct. Now coming to the modern era, the development of the iron and steel industry opened the doors to rapid industrial development in India. Almost all sectors of the Indian industry depends heavily on the iron and steel industry for their basic infrastructure. The first modern steel manufacturing plant in India during the British rule was at Kulti Burnpur in 1870 and production began in 1874. After that, Tata Iron and Steel Company, which is called TISCO, was established by Dorabji Tata in 1907, which by 1939 became the largest steel plant in British Empire. Now we will see what are the raw materials that are required to make steel. The ores used in making iron and steel are iron oxides, which are compounds of iron and oxygen. To make steel, iron ore is first mined because iron occurs only as iron oxides in the earth's crust. The ores must be mined from the ground. The iron is usually found in the form of magnetite, hematite, limonite and siderite. The second raw material that is required to make iron and steel is coke. Coke is used as a fuel and a reducing agent in melting iron ore. It is produced by baking coal until it becomes carbon by burning off impurities without burning up the coal itself. When coke is consumed, it generates intense heat but little smoke and making it ideal for smelting iron and steel. And the third raw material is limestone, which is also called calcium carbonate. Limestone creates a basic flux that absorbs many of the impurities from the iron. It basically acts like a purifier to eliminate impurities like sulfur and phosphorus, because sulfur and phosphorus can have negative effect on the quality of iron and steel. Because a good quality iron or steel is known for its ductility and malleability, the presence of sulfur and phosphorus can hinder that. Now that we have the basic raw materials, here is the process. The raw material, that is iron ore, coke and limestone, is put in the blast furnace where it undergoes smelting. The heat in the blast furnace converts the ore to molten iron. The molten iron then comes from the bottom of the furnace into molds known as pigs, and it is then allowed to solidify into pig iron. The pig iron is then refined by converting it into wrought iron or processed into steel by several methods. The output obtained is steel, which may be used by other industries as raw material, and the other output is molten slag, which floats above the molten iron. Slag can be used in various other places. Here is a list of items that are produced out of slag. Slag is basically a glass-like byproduct, which is a leftover after a desired metal has been separated from its raw ore. Slag is usually a mixture of metal oxides and silicon dioxide. Now that we know how steel is produced, it's time to locate the important iron and steel producing centers in India. We'll try to follow in order. I have categorized the steel producing companies in terms of public sector, which includes both the central and state government, and then there are steel producing companies which are privately owned. We will first locate the public sector steel producing companies. All the public sector steel producing companies in India are managed by the Steel Authority of India Limited. Basically, it is a public sector undertaking owned and operated by the Government of India. The first one is Bhilai Steel Plant. It was set up in Durg district of Chhattisgarh in 1957 with the technical and financial support of the then Soviet Union. The city of Bhilai lies 30 km west from the capital city of Raipur. The purpose of setting this plant at this location was to bring prosperity in terms of employment for the local people, because Durg district is a backward area. Currently, this particular steel plant can produce up to 4 million tons of crude steel in a year. The second one is Rourkela Steel Plant. It is situated in the Sundargarh district of Odisha. It was set up with the help of the then West German firm, which is Krups and Damang, during the second 5-year plan in the year 1936. In fact, the whole second 5-year plan was focused towards the development of public sector and rapid industrialization. Rourkela Steel Plant is the first integrated steel plant in the public sector of India. It became operative in 1959. Currently, this steel plant can produce up to 2 million tons of crude steel in a year. The third one is Bokaro Steel Plant. It is located in the Bokaro district of Jharkhand and near to the Damodar River. It was formed in 1954 with technical collaboration of the Soviet Union. The production of this plant started in 1972. Due to its popularity, the entire steel plant and the area around it has turned into Bokaro Steel City, which is one of the well-planned cities of India. It is also a major industrial center and the fourth largest city in the state of Jharkhand. Currently, this steel plant can produce up to 4 million tons of crude steel a year. The fourth one is Durgapur Steel Plant. It is located at Durgapur in Bardhaman district of West Bengal, which is 160 km away from the capital city of Kolkata. Even this plant is situated next to the Damodar River, but in the state of West Bengal. The Grand Trunk Road and the main Kolkata-Delhi railway line pass through Durgapur. It was set up in 1955 with the help of the United Kingdom. Currently, this steel plant can produce up to 2 million tons of crude steel a year. The fifth one is IISCO Steel Plant. IISCO stands for Indian Iron and Steel Company. There are 3 plants that have been merged together to form IISCO Steel Plant. These 3 plants are at Kulti, Hirapur and Burnpur. They are very much nearby, that's why they have been merged together. All these 3 plants were set up in 1864, 1908 and 1937 respectively. The Indian Iron and Steel Company is located at Burnpur in Asansol district of West Bengal. Even this plant is located on the left bank of river Damodar. Currently, the steel plant can produce up to 500,000 tons of crude steel a year. The sixth one is Salem Steel Plant. It is located at Salem in the Salem district of Tamil Nadu. It started its production in 1982. The current capacity of the steel plant is about 80,000 tons of crude steel per year. The seventh one is Visvesvaraya Steel Plant. It was established in 1923 in Mysore. At that time, Mysore was a kingdom all by itself. So initially the name of the steel plant was Mysore Iron and Steel Company. This plant was brought under the state control in 1962 and it was renamed as Visvesvaraya Iron and Steel Plant. The exact location of the steel plant is in Bhadravati, which is in Shimoga district of Karnataka. Currently, this steel plant can produce up to 1.38 lakh tons of steel per year. The eighth one is Visakhapatnam Steel Plant. Now this particular steel plant is not at all a unit of Steel Authority of India Limited. While it is a public limited company, but it is not a unit of Steel Authority of India Limited. In 1970s and 80s, a new company called Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited (RINL) was formed, which is the state-owned company. So today Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited is the owner of the Visakhapatnam steel plant. Steel production actually started from 1982. It is the most sophisticated modern integrated steel plant in India. It currently holds 67th rank among 80 largest steel makers in the world. Steel plant is located in the city of Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. Currently the steel plant can produce up to 3 million tons of steel per year. So these were the 8 public sector steel plants of India. 7 of them operates under the Steel Authority of India Limited and 1 of them is a state-owned enterprise. Now we are going to locate private sector steel plants. The first one is Tata Steel Limited. It is also called as Tata Iron and Steel Company, TISCO. It is the oldest iron and steel center of India. It was established in 1907 by Jamshedji Tata at Sakchi village in Singhbhum district of Jharkhand. Later on, it was renamed as Jamshedpur city after Jamshedji. It started producing pig iron in 1911 and steel in 1912. Tata Steel is a multinational steel making company which operates in 26 countries, but its headquarters are in India, Netherlands and United Kingdom. Currently, the steel plant produces around 6.8 million tons of steel per year. The second one is SR Steel. It is located in Hazira, which is in the Surat district of Gujarat. The company is part of SR Group Holdings. Currently, the steel plant produces around 4.6 million tons of steel per year. The third one is JSW Steel. Now JSW stands for Jindal Southwest. It was set up in 1994 with its plant located at Toranagalu in the Bellary Hospet area of Karnataka and external areas of Andhra Pradesh. The plant is near to the river Tungabhadra. As of now, the steel plant produces around 6.6 million tons of steel per year. The fourth one is Jindal Steel and Power Limited. It is one of the top steel companies in India. It is located in Raigad district of Chhattisgarh. It is very close to the Chhattisgarh and Odisha border. Currently, the steel plant produces around 2.4 million tons of steel per year. The fifth one is Bhushan Steel Limited. It is located in Angul, Dhenkanal district of Odisha. In the financial year of 2015 and 16, Bhushan Steel Limited had reported a gross debt of Rs 2,336 crore. In June 2018, Tata Steel took over the company and then renamed it as Tata Steel BSL Limited. Currently, the steel plant produces around 1.5 million tons of steel per year. The sixth one is Ispat Industries Limited. In 2012, JSW Steel took over the Ispat Industries Limited. The initial name of the company was Nippon Denro Ispat Limited. The company started in 1984. It is involved in iron, steel, mining, energy and infrastructure. It has two integrated steel plants located at Dolvi and Kalmeshwar in the state of Maharashtra. Currently, the steel plant produces around 3 million tons of steel per year. So these are the major iron and steel plants both in public and private sector that are functioning in the various parts of the country. Let's quickly look at some facts. If you look at the list of countries by steel production, India ranks at number 2 right after China. In 2018, India produced 106.5 million tons of crude steel, whereas China produced 928.3 million tons of crude steel. Currently, the largest producer of steel in India is JSW Steel Limited, followed by Steel Authority of India Limited. And here's the list of countries where India exports steel. In other words, these countries are India's top 10 steel markets. Visakhapatnam Steel Plant is India's first shore-based integrated steel plant. So these were the major iron and steel plants in India.